The way Kirby Smart and Todd Hartley have been recruiting the tight end position over the last few years it's been special, and I don't know that anyone's doing it better than those two, especially Todd Hartley, right, being that position coach. And look, those guys love Todd Hartley, but what they're doing, if they could pull this off, I mean that'd be pretty unreal when you talk about trying to replicate what you get from Brock Bowers, right? And no, don't misread what I'm saying here. They're not trying to exactly replicate what they had in Brock. You can't make that up again. Just an alien, a freak, right? That's what he was over the last few years. The production and the skill set, you can't exactly replicate that. But what they've done, going out there, getting 4-star tight end, 5-star tight end, over and over again, nobody else is doing that. I mean, you run down the list over the last few years of the guys they've brought in. You start with Bowers. You talk about even guys that weren't huge contributors like a Rylan Goede, 4-star tight end in that 2019 class. Darnell Washington, obviously a 5-star. Pierce Sperlin, Lawson Lucky, Jaden Riddell, Colton Heinrich. Eric Gilbert brought him in. He counts, even if it was through the transfer portal. They're bringing in an unreal amount of talent at that position and recruiting it in a way that other people just aren't. So they're trying to get that. They're trying to have the versatility out of their tight end because you saw how much of a weapon that was starting in 2021. And now they're going after and getting those types of players more and more. Because in 2021, you saw, okay, what does Darnell Washington do? And you saw him throughout his 3 seasons at Georgia. He can block. He can go out there and catch passes. He can stretch the field a little bit. He can break tackles. The tight end position's evolving, and Georgia is getting those types of players over and over again. You can't, like I said, you can't replace Brock Bowers with an identical production, an identical type of player, but they are going after and getting these same players over and over. So I want to talk a little bit about Lawson Lucky, and I want to talk a little bit about Jaden Riddell. We can talk about Pierce Sperlin a little bit, and Oscar Delp, because he's a little bit different, and it's interesting. And what Oscar Delp was saying in the press conference the other day, essentially revealing Georgia's game plan a little bit, revealing some formation stuff. I'm sure that Kirby doesn't really love that, but he did talk about some of their personnel. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here, talking about Georgia's tight ends, a little bit about how Hartley has just been doing a better job than everybody on the recruiting trail in terms of this one position. Obviously, he is the tight end coach, and it starts with him, and these guys love him, right? He is... Look, all of the position coaches on Georgia are very involved, very into it, very intense during practice. Georgia people, right? So they understand the culture and everything of it. But they all love Todd Hartley, and it's whether it's going to his house or just who he is as a person. They talk about how much they love him as a person. So it starts there, having the right guy to bring those players in. Look, everyone knew Brock Bowers was good, right? A little bit quieter, obviously not having senior year in California. COVID's going on. It's, the recruiting is kind of strange. He's sending in videos of him running up hills and everything. So, no, he wasn't this prospect that everyone was freaking out about. Everyone was touted over, hey, this guy is going to be the next best thing. That wasn't the case there. That was a little bit of a slight hidden gem, right? He was a top 100 recruit, so it's not like he was a nobody, right? Anyone that's saying that, don't listen, because that's just not the case. When you're a top 60, 70 player in the country, you're supposed to be pretty good, and that's what he was. Was he supposed to be as good as he ended up being? I don't know. But I think you just look at... I've been pulling up this roster a lot, right? Because it's new. People's weights have changed. People's numbers have changed. Brock was what? 240-ish? 245? 6'3"? Well, they've got Lawson Lucky listed at that 6'3", 240 range. Looks like him, right? Is he quite as chiseled? No. Is he as fast? I think he might be almost as fast. That's what I've noticed. So I was in practice the last couple weeks, and this past one, so this on Tuesday, got to see practice again, a little bit of it, and I was paying attention to the tight ends. Didn't get to see Jaden Riddell that day. He is dealing with a hamstring injury, but I was honed in on watching Oscar Delp. I was honed in on watching Lawson Lucky. And another guy who I've been waiting to watch because he's not there yet, but I failed to mention originally when I was just talking about all the tight ends they brought in, another guy through the transfer portal is Benjamin Urasek, who is another guy that's going to be able to stretch the field for them. And I think that he's going to be a bigger part of the offense than people might realize, and part of that has to deal with what I observed the other day. What did I observe? Oscar Delp continues to put on muscle and just looks bigger and bigger, and they want him to block, right? Is that going to be the only thing he's going to do? No, but having someone that can both be a threat setting the edge and in the vertical passing game is really important at this level of football, and Bowers did that probably better than anybody. Was he an elite blocker? I don't know if elite's the word I call it. He was very good in run block. He was able to do a lot of things, end around kind of stuff, stretch runs. Most of the time he was able to pin guys down. Getting Oscar, they've got him listed now at 245. I think he looks a little bit bigger than that. I think that might not be 100%. I mean, they had him listed at that a year ago after he had already put on weight. So I'm not sure. I think that we might be talking about 250 for Oscar Delp, a guy who came to Georgia as this big route running tight end that was just killing it over in Forsyth County, right? Just mossing people and beating people with his legs. And at Georgia, he's been asked to do a little bit more of a balanced job, blocking and receiving. And we've seen that he can go out there and hurdle somebody. He can go out there and catch a one-handed pass. But I think he'll be really important because he talked about the other day, they want to run a lot of 12 personnel. What is that? Having two tight ends out there, right? They like to have that. Couple receivers, couple tight ends, running back, having that type of formation set up. And it's been really good for Georgia over the last couple of years. You can run that out of shotgun, single back. You can run pistol if you want to, right? Having guys like Lawson Lucky or Brock Bowers that are very fast in a straight line. You can run them out of the backfield as well. Well, I think that Lawson Lucky has the opportunity to be an offensive weapon, right? The way that Bowers was at Georgia. That is the other main observation I had when looking at and I apologize for the noise there, when looking at the tight ends the other day in practice was, hey, Lawson Lucky is just, they were doing a drill where got to shuffle your feet, so there were bags on the ground that they had to hurdle over. Well, also, it was a ball security drill, all right, smacking you with the bags. So it was at the same time, and I know I'm not calling these pieces of equipment the right thing, but you get my drift. It was both footwork and ball security at the same time. Lawson Lucky's bursting through that thing, right? Getting bounced around a little bit more, and Oscar Delp's powering through it a little bit more. So I think that they want different types of tight ends, but definitely ones that can stretch the field. And they saw how much that can work over the last couple of years. Having people at that size, at that skill set, being able to move them around all over the field, it's a weapon. It's not just a tight end, it's a weapon. And I think that Lucky can do that. And look, having Pierce Sperlin, right, that was, and if you weren't aware of this, at the beginning of spring practice, now 2 weeks ago almost, that was the very first thing we learned, was Kirby Smart told us, hey, look, Pierce Sperlin, he's not going to be on the team anymore as a player. He's just going to be kind of in a support staff role. He'll still be on scholarship. He has a congenital heart disorder. I hope I'm saying that right. Disorder. Not going to be playing football anymore, so he's on medical disqualification. He was a guy that can stretch the field and was a 6'6" target that can move. And now you bring in a Benjamin Urasek that has that purpose as well. The sets where Urasek and Delp are going to be out there at the same time as let's say Dylan Bell and Arian Smith, right, with Trevor Etienne in the backfield. Those types of sets are possible. And we talk about that a lot over the last few years. Hey, Georgia can do so many different things. Think to 2022. They had Kenny McIntosh and Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers and Arian Smith out there at the same time. They had a little bit of everything on offense. That's why you bring in a Benjamin Urasek. That's why when you're recruiting, you're not just recruiting all the same types of people. And they've done that with these tight ends. Jaden Riddell, a little bit more in the Lawson Lucky Brock Bowers mold. And that's kind of how I view these guys. And Delp is turning into something a little bit in between where, yes, meteor blocker, right? I think that as a red zone target, that is something that they've been developing a lot with him as well, and you want him to be that strong hand, strong body in there. But I do think that the versatility of this tight end position, they're doing it. Nobody else is doing it this way. Florida State's had some good tight ends. Alabama's had some really good tight ends over the last few years. Stanford, obviously, Iowa, and especially Iowa's had some good tight ends. But having the amount of them on the roster and the ability to mix and match them with 12 and 13 personnel and using them and moving them around, nobody else is doing that. And it starts with recruiting and getting these guys there. It starts with Todd Hartley. Are they trying to replicate Brock Bowers again? A little bit. That's my conclusion here. When you just look at Jaden Riddell in practice and you look at Lawson Lucky, that's what you see. It's a little bit of a baby version of that. And so I think they're going to continue to go hard at that position and put attention there, right? Do they go as hard at receiver as some others? No, definitely not. Their name is not in the mix for some of these 5-star receivers, but it is for these guys, and it is for those huge offensive linemen, and it is for guys like Carson Beck, right, that make this offense tick. And I think they're trying to do it again. Thanks for watching. Link is down below for the newsletter. I failed to tell you to sign up. It takes 5 seconds, and you'll be a 5-star informed, tapped in Georgia fan. Make sure you're doing that. Link is down below. Thank you.